nothing we can achieve successfully if we are not intentional about life. So who we really are when it comes to maybe one emotions play in our lives or another emotion plays or takes, like Tola cited, somebody or people who have anger issues. So we have to get intentional about it. But the truth is, many of us may not see it as its way. But then, just like Tola cited correctly, and a former president of mine always say, if 1, 2, 3 people say the same thing about you over and over again, then it's not coincidence. There's no room for a mistake there. So then you should be open to it. But there's every tendency, when Tola was speaking, what came to my mind was, there's every tendency that you're telling this person, do you know you well? I think approaching that so should probably come in a subtle manner, as it were, because you're telling somebody you have anger issues. The person would most likely get angry at you again. At that point in time, and do you know what you are saying? I know myself. So it takes somebody who would be you're intentional about knowing yourself first. Then you have to be open. You have to be open-minded. Someone whose mind is already closed, even want to see the light you are trying to bring is our way. So I believe it's important that we take intentionality at 101%, and then when the truth comes to us, then we should be open to receive it. We should be open to receive it, because many can say, okay, I want to hear the truth, but then when that truth comes, not everybody will be. We just have to be intentional about assessing ourselves and knowing who we really are, knowing how much our emotions get the better of us, whether we have anger issues or not, whether we just get so high on some emotions. So it's really important, Moses. It's really important.
Can I say something?
So,
I'll just like to add to what Michael just said. For me, being intentional would be knowing the person you're interacting with. If you know that person, or if the conversation is going to where you feel like, it's going to get you angry at some point, then you should actually just leave the conversation alone and visit it later when you're calm. Or if you know that you're starting to get fired up because of something, you have to be intentional and say, I don't want to get angry. I don't want you to get me to that point where I'll be so angry I won't be able to control myself. So it's better to just leave it. So that's all I wanted to just add to that. So
it's not even possible for us to live in denial of our feelings. Anyway, I know God is helping us in that particular aspect of life. It transcends marital, as I've earlier said. Okay, while Michael was talking, I was thinking about something. Apologies to those who, you're not in the Christian faith, but there is something, according to the Bible, that says, Holy Spirit has a role to play when it comes to stuff like this. So I recall, I just want something on the surface that, we can actually, talk about, probably like, a very subtle advice. Self-control is not that easy, and it doesn't come easy. So that's where being intentional, that's what it's all about. Self-control has a lot to do when it comes to emotional control. Emotions are not like, we know that they are very abstract, right? And so we need abstract way of tackling this. That's the essence of meditation. And most of the time we have too much noise around us now, so we tend to overlook some of those things that that can add up, that can make us firm enough to undo some of these things. I mean, we get to meet people every day. Thank God for social media. We chat. We get angry over chat, right? and sometimes quarrel even over chat. You understand? So our emotions have they all have a roles to play in all these aspects of life. Now, my curiosity is that when it comes to self-control, can we relate it to steering our emotions? No.
When it comes to self-control, can we relate it to steering our emotions?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think so, yes, because like I said before, you can diffuse a situation, and you can ensure that it doesn't escalate to a point where you say something that you regret, or you do something that you regret. You can actually steer it to that point where it doesn't escalate. You can do that. You can control your emotions like that. I believe so.
Okay, I agree with what Tola said. Let me try to just put up this part of the Bible. Proverbs says, "A fool always loses his temper, but a wise man pulls it back." And another says, "One who gets angry is like a city without walls." Understand? More like somebody who lacks is like a city without walls. So it has a very strong role to play in steering our emotions. So self-control really key.
Have you ever been in an interview and the HR trying to ask you questions crossed you? Has it ever happened to you? Anyone?
An interview? Well, I think I was on leave and I was returning back to work, and then I had an interview with the HR, and what I wanted, because I had already worked for them for 2.5 years. So I was trying to ask them for a particular time. I want to come at this time and I want to do this shift, but they couldn't. They didn't want to give me. I think what they were trying to do was trying to get me to just give up and resign. That has happened to me. Another that has happened to me with HR. I mean, they've not been good experiences. There was one where I think I had an issue with them, and because I was Nigerian, the next day I went to work. The first thing the manager did was say, "Oh, HR wants to see your passport or your visa or whatever." I knew they were going to do that, so I had I had everything with me, and I just showed them immediately. So it's not been a good experience for me. It's been rough. Like, I've not had any good experience yet with any HR before.
Yeah. The reason why I asked that is, let's take this illustration. I love illustrations anyway. And you're looking for a job. I'm looking for a job now. So I got a place, and the place is very nice, and I was just about to be interviewed. Yes, we have HR ethics. Of course, the way they handle the interview in such a way that the person being interviewed is respected too. Do you understand? But of course, we have different kind of people, and the way they think and the way they are not conscious of others' feelings and emotions. And the person could say anything. At least I've been in auditions, and the way they mock people, sometimes, and they feel so down and negative about themselves too. I don't know if you get that. So, but I think the reason why I'm bringing this illustration is that at the base of everything, there should be a sort of mind towards something to gain beyond what you feel right now. So imagine you're on a job interview and the HR is trying to just cross you just to, in the name of testing your ability and courage, and then you've been crossed already. Would there be an outburst from you, knowing that there's something to gain?
I wouldn't react. Like, I wouldn't give them the satisfaction of reacting the way they want me to, or they expect me to, because like you said, there's something to gain. So I look at the bigger picture. If it's something that I really want, then there's a bigger picture there. Instead of me looking at the situation in front of me, I'll think about the bigger picture and everything. So yeah, I'll put all those things in consideration. And another thing is, if you're a stranger to me, it's very hard for you to get me upset. I'm that kind of person where I don't let other people's opinions or whatever get to me. Unless you're a close person to me, then yeah, it's easy. But if you're not that close to me and I don't know you, I've never seen you before, that's my first interaction with you. There's nothing you can do to get me to react in that way. So yeah.
Wow. Actually, we've doubled the initial time we scheduled for this podcast, and there is no doubt there's going to be the third episode anyway. And thank you so much for your kind gesture, for taking the invitation again, Tola and Michael.
Yeah,
I really appreciate your what's it called now, your presence on the show. And please, I just want you, Michael, to emphasize on this particular last point too, that in the area of where there's something to gain and outburst, you talked about weighing the weight, as in checking the weight of what it is right now and what is obtainable in the later. So do you think this is applicable in relationships too, and in friendship, even in families?
Okay, well, very well. I think it's so much achievable because one would need to look at let me call it value, because when you look at your friendship, if you're somebody, like for me, as an example, I place value on friendship, relationship, as it were. So if you are somebody like me that places value on relationships, on friendships, then regardless of what the person does to probably upset you, to make you offended, to an extent, you probably look at the good side of that relationship. You probably look at the wealth of value that you have gotten from that relationship in time past, or you can probably still get in the future, and you would not want to jeopardize it. Although there are people who trash every relationship at just any point in time, they don't give a damn about.
Yeah.
So I think it boils down to value. Maybe your parents, your family, they offended you, and of course you would not want to disown your family member, something like so. It boils down to value we put on relationships and friendships,
which boils down to being mutual. It's a mutual thing too, I guess. The value of a thing. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michael. Thank you, Tola. Thank you so much for listening too. Thank you for the shares, of course. Thank you. And don't listen to this alone. Just try as much as possible to share, and follow us on our social media pages, on Instagram, Society and Our Podcast, on Twitter, Society and Our Podcast, on Facebook as well. You have any questions, any comments, just free to drop it on the mail you see below, or you can make use of your Facebook DMs, Instagram or Twitter DM. We'll be right there to respond to you. Thank you for having us. My name is Moses Knightingale once again. And Tola, any final words?
Final words, I would say let's just try to know ourselves better, so we know how to react in situations.
Michael?
It's important we this too shall pass mentality. This is temporal. It's for a while. So once we imbibe that kind of mentality, regardless of what comes our way, regardless of what life throws at us, we know this shall pass. So we're fine.
So this episode too shall pass anyway. So as you are so it's passing anyway. So even as you what's it called now, listening, just You can take anything.